Time now for our investment school with our headmaster, Gary Booysen, the director at Rand Swiss. He'll be telling us about how to build the #1 securities brokering firm in South Africa. 5 lessons from the trenches. Of course, he's been a man who's been in the trenches and he's going to be telling us more. Now, look, Gary, when we talk about a brokerage firm, I'm thinking the movies, Wolf of Wall Street, high life, Ferraris, yachts, and, a really fast-paced life. Go back to the office, make a lot of money, go out and spend it. Is it really like that getting into the industry?
I wish I could say it was like that for aspiring young securities brokers, but it honestly couldn't be any further from what you see in the movies. So the idea of Wolf of Wall Street, I think, was maybe the industry in the 80s. It was, that hard sell, get on the phones, ram stock down your client's throat. That kind of environment has changed immensely. And now it really is, it's a bunch of tech nerds sitting around a desk, programming algorithms. And I mean, of course, the clients are incredibly important, but I think the whole industry has morphed into a much more technical, much more, I suppose, like electronically driven environment. So very, very, very different. I look at those movies and I just have to laugh.
I wish my life was like that.
If only my life was like that.
Let's start at the very beginning. What is a brokerage firm? What is the industry like? And how does one find themselves, in that particular industry? Do you need to study a certain stream of subjects, or you can not really wing it, but get a gain from experience?
Sure. I think experience is incredibly important. You can't underestimate the formal tertiary education. So yes, absolutely. You've probably got to do a BCom at least. You do need some sort of tertiary education. You find a lot of, lawyers, advocates move into the side of the business. You find a lot of CAs. You find, plenty of people that just did a straight BCom with economics. That's also a very popular stream. So you do have to do the groundwork to an extent, but the whole way that the industry is structured is actually through almost like a mentorship program. So, back in the day, it used to be the Financial Services Board when I was first registering. Now it's the Financial Service Conduct Authority. The way that it's structured is you have to get in on a license. You've got to then do a certain amount of years, almost as an apprenticeship, in different categories. So whether you're doing derivative instruments or you're doing, straight equities, and you've got to build up experience. And once you come off supervision, then, there's kind of various levels, and you go from just being a representative to being a key individual. But you've got to obviously have that kind of like securities broking focus. When I started, it was almost, you didn't even need that FSCA license because it was all registered through the exchange. So, but when I first started, the whole thing was you just wanted to get into a member firm. That was all you wanted to get into. And I mean, I remember when I was starting, I actually started in kind of looking more the media side of things. I was writing for a financial magazine at that stage, and all I wanted to do was get into broking, into securities broking. I probably had watched a lot of movies like that. The Wolf of Wall Street.
My life's
I
going to
thought
turn
that's
out
where
great.
I'm going to make my money. And I mean, I remember begging my publisher at that stage to phone all our contacts in the industry and just see if someone could get me a job. I took I think my first job on a trading desk. My first day, I'd taken an 80% pay cut just to be there, just to gain that experience, because I knew this is something that I really wanted to do. So, yes, the tertiary education is important. Yes, there are streams that you can follow, but nothing substitutes for that real world experience of sitting on a desk, executing orders, and
really
actually
grinding it out
and working at the coalface of financial markets.
And how does one get appreciation in this particular industry? Do you have to get a certain nod? Maybe have some assets under your portfolio that you've covered and clients that you've got, big ones that where the company can say, okay, you can make a senior partner, or you can, start having your own set of clients that you're running for the company on your own?
It's a good question. So I suppose, from the outside, I mean, that was one of the first things when I got into the industry that I couldn't believe. You see, trading screens or retail front ends, or you log into your banking system and you see this kind of very neat, very simple front end. Oh, I just put in an order for volume and I put in my price, and that's how it works. And it's super, super simple. And I remember the first day looking at like the complexity. The way I describe it to kind of young guys that come onto our desk is the financial system it's like a big spaghetti. The car, or if you maybe use a mechanical example instead, you look at a car and it's maybe like a very sleek BMW, but once you pop the hood and you actually look at
the inner workings,
there's just pipes everywhere. You look at this thing and you think, like, how does this actually function? So that's it's a very complex, the financial system is a very complex beast, if you want to put it that way. And, there's many different ways to achieve that appreciation. And it really depends on what stream you're in. For me, it's, we're in retail stockbroking. So it's very much about, the client service that you put in. Yes, it is to an extent about the assets that you can gather and attract, but it's also about performance. It's about great ideas. A lot of guys come through the research stream, analysts that are, they do their CFA, let's say, and they, write incredible research. They move up into a portfolio manager role. They start running assets. So there's many, many different routes through it, to kind of, find that appreciation that you're talking about. But, for us, we started very much as a retail stockbroker. So we started the business we incorporated the business in 2014. We got our licensing through, which is a whole another animal in 2015. And now it's almost 8 years that we've been doing this. And, since then, where we found our appreciation is really in the response that the clients have had to us. So one of the things that we really try and focus on is there's it's kind of the industry awards, which is it's run by the Financial Mail. It's the top securities brokers awards, and they do kind of like a big in-depth study on you. They come and mystery shop you. They come and they send emails to your clients to kind of gauge how your client base is feeling. They come and look at like how your risk systems work. It's a very in-depth process, and for me, it's always been incredibly important because it's very easy, as you say. You don't need a degree. You don't even need to be licensed. You can go and get someone to give you some money and go and trade it on the side. That's very easy, but to do it the right way and to do it in a way that benefits clients and makes people money and makes people, it's a very fulfilling part of the job. And, that's why out of the last 4 years, we've won the award 3 times as the best securities broking firm in South Africa. And it's, that's where I get my appreciation from.
Yeah, the work speaks for itself.
It's not about the money. It's not about the Ferraris. It's not about that. Maybe.
Few people argue with you about that.
Maybe, but for me, it's almost comes down to it's like a Kill Bill reference that I sometimes use. It's like, whenever you've got an enterprise that you're building something, whether it's securities broking, whether you're a tech firm, whether you're an engineer who's come up with a widget, you've seen an angle, or you're providing a service, or you're doing something that is generating economic value. Now, you can do it on a large scale. So you can go and, if you're making swords, you can make a sword factory and you have a conveyor belt, millions of swords will fall off. Or you can be Hattori Hanzo. You can be the guy that makes the ultimate sword. It's not high volume, but it's just high quality. And that's, I think, what we've always focused on is just, keep it very, very high quality, keep our clients exceptionally happy. And that really is the secret for us.
So you work your way through a brokerage firm, you gain the experience, you gain the respect, you're now ready to move and start your own. How much do you need in your war chest? Buying all this, licensing all this equipment that you'll need, and really getting the company up to its feet.
Much less than you think, but much more than I thought. So it's very fortunate when you look at like an asset management business or securities broking business, you're working in capital markets. So the one thing that you ironically don't really need is capital. So when you're building a power station, or you have to go and, foot the bill for big yellow machinery, you've got to go and raise capital. You've got to tap the capital markets. You've got these huge assets that you need to finance. In the securities broking industry or an asset management industry, you really don't, because your best asset is your brain. It's the intellectual property that you've created, and it's the people that you can attract as well. So, and in a large part, it's the brand that you build, and it's really your reputation more than anything else. And unfortunately, it's difficult to raise capital to build something like that. It's got to be something that you've built almost as a track record through the way that you work. I say that, but I remember when because you've obviously got to do business plans, even if you're not raising capital, like in the formal markets, you still, because you're going through at that stage, like I said, it was the Financial Services Board, you're going through a regulatory body, you've got to present your business plans on, why should you deserve a license? Why should you be licensed in this? And I remember looking at our first business plan, quite recently, I kind of dusted it off. And it was a joke.
It was a bit thin, eh?
I looked at that thing and I was like, wow, we really thought we were going to do a lot better than we did.
But you did.
Yeah, but you did. But you look at your kind of revenue projections, and they were way too optimistic. And you kind of look at where you thought your costs were going to be. And my best advice to any entrepreneur out there is, if whatever you think you're going to need if you're thinking about starting a business, times that at least by 4, because there's going to be so many things that you just didn't expect. And I mean, I was very fortunate in the way that I suppose I came through the industry that I almost got to do like a dry run of this beforehand, because it was just kind of the nature of the business I was working in before. And even then, with all that experience, I really underestimated how much it would cost. So I can say to anyone out there thinking of starting a business, make sure you are well capitalized before you start.
So quadruple your capital, but in terms of building the team that'll make sure your startup actually starts up, in the brokerage firm, who are you looking for in your core team, and how do you get those that skill without having to pay upfront?
Oh, friends, fools, and family, the 3 F's. But one of the things that it's very difficult if you're coming out of university and you just say, "I've watched The Wolf of Wall Street, we're going to start a brokerage." Very bad idea, in my opinion, because there's so much to be gained through those apprentice years where you build up your networks within the industry, and that's really where you're going to meet the contacts that are going to be able to you're going to be able to leverage further down the line. And it's really about building relationships at all stages, and then hoping that those people will have faith in you when you decide to go out on your own. And if they do, great. Then you get to pull that core team together very, very quickly. And when you're starting something for yourself, many entrepreneurs that are listening to this will know, the best thing is you can do it the way that you want to do it. You can, you don't have that corporate overlord hanging over you saying you need to hire that. You can really just go and you can look at the market the way that you see the market, and you can bring in the skills that you need.
Very interesting there. This is our investment school. If you're just joining us now, Gary Booysen, our headmaster today, he's the director at Rand Swiss, really taking us through the lessons of how to start a number one securities brokering firm in South Africa. You want to stay tuned if you want to start such a business.
The Money Show.
Investment School.
Welcome to our investment school. Gary Booysen, director at Rand Swiss, our headmaster today, and he's getting us through our paces, telling us how you can start a number one securities brokering firm in South Africa, giving us some personal lessons as well. Before the break, we were talking about building your team as a startup, as a brokerage firm, what kind of skills you need, and how you can get around not paying too much for the talent.
I suppose one of the things is definitely to leverage the gig economy as well. So that the world has changed so much. I mean, people are working from home. We've got Teams meetings, and everyone seems to have a side hustle these days as well. So, I think back to it. So when I probably first came into the market, it must have been mid 2000s. I remember going to the exchange, and it was the first time I'd been to the exchange kind of as an adult, and it was very, very. It's very glitzy. It's very wow. If listeners haven't been to the exchange, it's it's a very exciting place to visit. And I remember going to see it was small cap analyst Anthony Clark, and he was presenting 5 companies, and they had the 5 CEOs there talking, and I kind of went in to listen to these things. And it was, I was covering it almost as a journalist at that stage. And I was, it was fascinating. And I kind of followed Anthony through his career, and, I ended up working essentially at the firm that he was working at later, and I was talking about those networks. Now he's a small cap analyst of note. 27, 30 years in the market, an amazing network and depth of knowledge around small businesses. But he runs Small Talk Daily. It's a small independent shop. And now, all these years later, almost 20 years later, we work together again, and it's, we contract the research out to him. He's got kind of, it's not his side hustle anymore because it's become a business in its own right. But, our clients now get to leverage one of the top minds in small and mid cap research. And I don't have to pay him a huge salary to come and work with us because, we're one of his many clients. So I think the idea that you must hire all your talent and you must kind of do employment contracts and they must be in at 8 and leave at 5. I think it's a very archaic way of working. And we've got tons of researchers and tons of resources that are available to us that you don't necessarily need as part of that core team, but can really enhance your client's experience.
And, building this brokerage firm, you're looking at your customers, but also most importantly, you have to have clients. So are you cold calling like we're seeing in the movies, trying to, take someone from another stable into yours, or you approach clients differently?
Well, it's a good question. So client acquisition, I mean, it's always going to be a part of any business. I mean, it's the marketing angle is always very, very important. But what you find is, yes, part of it is I come on 702 to chat to you so that we can raise our profile, and hopefully some listeners will give us a call. So I think that has been a good angle for us to kind of introduce our products and services. But the fact is that most, once you even have a small client base, it really comes down to the service that you give the clients. And the industry research, I mean, speaks to this across the entire industry, that it's between 60 and 70% of new clients actually come from client referrals. So that really is where businesses are built in financial services, whether you're a wealth planning business, whether you're a securities broking firm, or whether you're a lawyer or an accountant, whatever the small kind of professional services companies. If you focus on doing the job right, you will naturally get more and more clients. You'll have, before you know it, you'll have more clients than you can even handle. So yes, there is an aspect to building the reputation, and there's of course that marketing angle, but really it comes down to creating the right products and to create and giving the right service, and that you will really see your business flourish.
Now, Rand Swiss is ranked by Intellidex as South Africa's top broker and top advisor broker. You weren't always those guys when you started. How did you convince your clients, and how did you make sure that your service to them made you the firm that you are today?
Well, I think it's largely it's the culture within the business as well. So there's an amazing book. Like anyone that's starting a business or any startup, it's my number one recommended business book, and it's The Hard Thing About Hard Things by Ben Horowitz. If you haven't read it and you're in, even if you're not starting a business, if you're just in business, you must read this book. And he kind of has a whole chapter about people, products, and profits, and they should be in that order. And it really, we've kind of maybe taken a slightly different spin on it, but because we're not an engineering outfit. But in any enterprise, there's really three segments within a business. So there's the client segment, and any enterprise is creating economic value. Now you can push most of that value onto your clients. You can push it onto your people. So you can push it onto the managers and staff, or you can push it onto the shareholders in the form of profits. And I think the way that we've done it, we've built a culture within the business that shareholders take nothing. That's why, I didn't arrive here in a Ferrari. I used to arrive here on a bike.
Yeah.
But, shareholders, are really the last people to get anything. We're a private company. We don't have kind of the pressure that's like a big listed company or a bank has to deliver for shareholders. So it can really be down to either the people or the clients. And I think our staff and the people that we work with really understand that what we're trying to achieve is that Hattori Hanso sword. We want to achieve this excellent client experience. And I know the guys that work on the team, they've made huge sacrifices over the last say 5 or 6 years to make sure that the products and the services that we deliver to the clients are the cheapest in the industry, are the highest quality in the industry, have the best risk reward payoffs, and the technology. I mean, the technology partners that we work with, I mean, they know that when they work with us, we're going to put them through their paces, and we're going to be demanding crazy things from them. But I think they buy into the vision and they buy into the culture, and they've delivered, and that really is how I think we've managed to achieve it. I hope they keep on believing.
As long as you take them through their paces. Well, you touched on it earlier around, there's a lot of guys that are doing their own private trading on the side, and they're doing their own research. So is there, longevity in this particular industry of brokerage firms where, a lot of people are doing their own research now? You've got AI platforms, a whole lot of apps that are helping them out. You're getting competition from sides you didn't think you're going to get competitions from. So how do you last in the business per se?
Oh, absolutely. So we were talking. We started the show with talking about the Wolf of Wall Street and how things have changed. And this is an industry that is ripe for disruption, and we're seeing kind of the core business changes. I've been doing this now 15, 20 years, like the amount of change that we've seen over that period is staggering, and you've always got to be on top of it. And it's about launching different products. It's about understanding where the pressures are. But at the core, as long as you're kind of in touch with the client and what their ultimate demands are, you'll be able to develop product that matches and suits their ability, whether it's using the latest AI system to inform a trading product or to put it in a platform so that they can access it. I mean, there's incredible things that you can do, but you've got to always kind of keep on the bleeding edge. It is incredibly important. And it's one of the reasons, I suppose, in our business, the typical brokerage model, I mean, it still exists in South Africa. We traded compared to where it was 10 years ago, even some of our neighboring countries where I see they trade at 1%. I mean, I can only imagine that. I mean, most of our clients are trading at 25 basis points. It's like next to nothing. It's an institutional rate, but it's about all those bolt-on, add-on services and it's all the other value adds that you can look for. And I think it's part, again, it comes down to, I don't want to say it too many times, but it's part of the culture of the company that at every point, the guys in the team are looking at ways that they can add additional value to their clients. And as long as your focus is to continue improving your service and your product, I don't think you need to be worried about, disruptive technologies or anything like that, because you will have a handle on them.
There are good days in that particular business. What do they look like, and what do the bad days look like? Just in a minute.
The good days and the bad days. Well, there it does come down to a little bit like Wolf of Wall Street. It's great. I mean, it's great when you've got, on the securities desk specifically, I mean, if you've got a big volume day, I mean, and you're hearing the pinging of all the trade orders coming through and you hear the guys chatting on the phones and you've got kind of the energy and, the trades are working out and the profit is rolling. I mean, it's an amazing feeling. I mean, there's some terrifying feelings as well, when, lockdowns are announced and when you get those days where you just feel like the bottom has just fallen out of the market and you've got clients panicking and everyone is phoning you, what's happening? And I mean, one story, I know I've got a minute, but one story, we had a client, it was a significant client and he had probably about 100 securities in his portfolio. And this was kind of in the midst of the COVID drop. He just started liquidating this portfolio from A, B, C, just selling out all of his shit. We caught him at M. And we're like, what are you doing?
Oh, wow.
This was one day from the bottom. And we stopped and we said, just go and relax. Come back
Sit
tomorrow.
in your hands.
Sit in there. He bought all the stock back the next day. And that was literally the turn at the bottom of the COVID pandemic. So you get days like that, which are pretty stressful, but overall it's worth it.
Riveting stuff. Worth it to start your number one securities brokerage firm. That was Gary Booysen, director at Rand Swiss, handling our investment school today. He was the headmaster.